Hi everyone, welcome to episode, I don't even know, I looked it up and I forgot, maybe 36 of the Just One Ed podcast. My name is Elizabeth Zimmerman, but you can call me Liz. I'm coming to you from Cochranville, Pennsylvania, where I live with my husband Greg, my two children Eric and Tilda, and our cat Sunspot, who once again has settled on my lap, so we'll see if she makes an appearance or if I manage to not pet her and get fluff in my face. I'm definitely rusty. This is my third try here. You can find me on Instagram as Just One End Podcast, and you can find me on Ravelry as Algerina. Okay, today is Wednesday, November 4th. I decided to take off work yesterday and today, and if watching my past episodes is any indication, I always tend to record a podcast episode when I take off work. So here we are. I decided to go ahead and record an episode. Obviously, it has been a while. I think this is my third episode of the year. That tells you how 2020 has been going. I just have not been motivated to craft much. I haven't been on social media a whole lot. I definitely haven't been podcasting. I think my last podcast was in, I want to say May. So it's been a while. But I do have a lot that I want to talk about. I was putting together my pile, and it's actually a lot bigger than I thought. So we'll see how long this episode goes. Hopefully not ridiculously long, but I do have a lot to share. So let me just talk about a couple of things that have been going on. Obviously, pandemic, shutdown, third wave, things are not open right now anyway, so I haven't been doing a ton. But most recently, it was Halloween just a couple of days ago. I have been getting together with my family, my siblings and their kids. We've been doing occasional family dinners outside, trying to socially distance and all that. But we did get together for Halloween. We had it at our house, and everybody came up, and we decided to do like a little carnival style where everyone just kind of came up with some games to play, and you got candy as prizes. So we put together some stations. I put together a haunted house in our basement. My husband and the kids helped. We put up some canopies and hung up some decorations, and I'll put a little video in of a walkthrough for that. Although you've already seen it if you follow me on Instagram. And then somebody did a prize wheel where you spun for candy. There was a cornhole game. There was a throw a ball at a pile of cans game. There was a shooting gallery. There was a little photo like props thing, backdrop thing. So we had a lot of fun. It was nice to be able to do something for the kids because we decided not to do any trick-or-treating this year. Like most of my neighborhood, I think. I don't think we had very many people going around. I didn't look most of the night, but I looked out at one point and there was only one visible house with a light on. So it was nice to have something for the kids to do on Halloween. So we did that, and then backing up a couple weeks before that, I went up to New Jersey and I got to hang out at Arrow Acres Farm on the Sunday of their not Rhinebeck weekend. So they are friends of mine who I would have been staying with in our house for Rhinebeck weekend if things were, normal as what we had expected to happen. But since it didn't, they did host some people. Saturday, I think they got a lot more people, but I couldn't make Saturday work. So I did go up on Sunday, got to hang out, got to see some people in person who I haven't seen in a really long time. So I had a lot of fun going up and visiting them. So that's the last couple weeks. I don't think I've done anything else noteworthy before that. So nothing else really to talk about. We did go camping with my family at one point, like the last weekend in September, first weekend in October, something like that. But again, just the last month or so. So that's it personally, stuff that's been going on. Let's get into some knitting, shall we? I do have a couple of finished objects. I have a couple that are 100% finished. I have a couple of whips that are like 99% finished. So I'll show you those. And then I've got a couple that are really works in progress that are, maybe halfway there. So let's start with the actually finished things. First, I talked about the 2019 stitch along that I did for Cloud's Factory. I think it was called, or that Clouds Factory puts out, and that I bought the kit and I did the stitching. I think it was called Humans After All. I've shown it on the podcast before. The last time I talked about it, I had dropped it off in New Jersey, right before everything got shut down. And I hadn't made it back up to go pick it back up because then everything shut down. So that was last you heard in my last episode. But then Paige at some point was just like, you know what? I'm going to ship it to you. So it showed up at my house one day, which was very exciting because she didn't warn me it was coming. So I have the final framed, I'll try to not get reflection in it, completed 2019 stitch along. So this goes on my wall along with 2018 and 2017. And I think I posted some pictures on Instagram when I actually, I'll make sure I don't drop it. When I actually hung it up. So I'll put that in here too, but you can see it's hung on my wall now. So that was exciting to have done. I do have the 2020 stitch along still. I think I showed that in my last episode too, and I think I'd done through April, and I hadn't started May yet. I think I've started May now. I haven't actually pulled it out to look at it, but that's it. I definitely didn't finish May. So I was on top of it almost. I think I was still like a month behind, but I haven't touched it since. So I've been thinking for the last week that I'm like, I should really just pull that out and start stitching on it again and actually make some progress there because I would like to finish it. You know, my track record, I'm going to try to not kick the camera. My track record is that I tend to finish them, you know, a couple months into the next year because I always fall behind. But I usually stitch my fingers off at the end and really get through a lot of it. So yeah, I need to pick that up. It is November, so you know the second to last clue has already been released. There's only one clue left to get from the designer. So if I work on it, I can probably catch up and then finish it. Who knows? Maybe I can finish it in the year. I don't know if it'll happen, but I could. It's actually a little bit smaller this year. I think I noted that last time too. It's usually a very large rectangle, and this year it's really a much smaller square. So I think I'd be able to catch up pretty easily, but we'll see. So that's finished object number 1. Finished object number 2. This is a project that I've had for quite a while. I think I bought the kit maybe a year or so ago. I first saw it on Sweet Tea No Shade, which is a podcast, a knitting podcast on YouTube if you haven't checked them out. They're awesome. It's a married couple, Scott and John. They are both knitters. They are fantastic. I have not caught any of their recent episodes, but I know they have been posting them. I just have not been watching a lot of podcasts lately. So someday I would like to catch up. It would be nice to catch up with everybody, but there are only so many hours in the day. But if I do, they're at the top of my list because I really like watching those guys. So I saw on their podcast a really long time ago that John, I think, was knitting a unicorn head from Sincerely Louise. And so I went on her website and I purchased a kit, and it came a long time ago and then I didn't do anything with it. So this is my deer head that I knit from Sincerely Louise. You can see it's mounted on a little backing. The antlers are not standing up very well, but I mount it on my wall so they don't need to be that sturdy. But this is my deer head. So I finally finished that. I pulled it out, I think, to take with me when we went camping. I needed a knitting project, and I didn't knit on it at all during camping, but I did when I got home. So so I did eventually get to it. It really only took me a couple of days to knit. You knit it in pieces, so there's like the top and the ears and the antler and the nose, and then a bottom piece that you knit separately. And then you seam it all and you put it all together, and it comes with the eyes and the backing and everything that you need to put it together. So that is my little deer. He goes on the wall along with my cross stitch. He hangs out on the wall in my craft room. And when I finished that, I decided I had so much fun that I got some more kits. So I'll have those to show you a little bit later. One is a whip because I actually started knitting it, and then the other ones are just acquisitions that I'll show you those. But it was a lot of fun. Like I said, it's Sincerely Louise. The yarn is super bulky. You do it on, I think, size, I have the needle somewhere, size 13s maybe. 9 millimeters. I think that's a size 13. I could be wrong. But yeah, really big needles. I knit the deer on circular needles like I usually do. Like I use my circular kit from Chaogu as my go-to needle set. But I found it was a little bit hard to work with just the flexible cable. They're really small pieces in some cases, and seaming them together, since you seam them together, and just where the needle joined to the cable was kind of digging into my hands for some reason. So when I bought the additional kits, she has the option to include straight needles. So I did take that option, and then I knit the next one on the straight needles. And if you're going to work on them, I do highly recommend you work with straight needles. It makes it a lot easier to deal with the pieces. At least that I noticed. So that is finished object number 2. Before I talk about my next finished object, I forgot to tell you about what I'm wearing. So I am wearing my, I believe it's called question and answer, or questions and answers. I can't remember which. I can't remember if it pluralizes or not. This is my shawl, question and answer shawl. It is by Kino Knits. I test knit this shawl sometime last year, I think. I really, really like this shawl. It's got a nice stripe. It has this edge that twists. So you have the red twist on this side, and then you've got the gray twist on this side. I really like this shawl. It's one of my favorites. It's one of those where you have 2 colors and you just knit until you're almost out of yarn, which is my favorite kind of how to keep track of something. So so I really like it. It's great because it's a way that you can stripe and not have to sew in a million ends because of the cool twist element. It's very neat. So you should definitely check out that pattern if you haven't already. Okay, so my next finished object, I'm going to call this one my last actual finished object. The rest of them are the ones that are mostly finished. This is my checkerwork hat. I knit this out of mustache yarn. It's the Shiny Happy People colorway. You knit the hat out of self-striping yarn, and then it does this cool like checkerboard effect. And I saw this on the Wool Slayers podcast forever and ever ago. I'm pretty sure it was Erin who recommended the pattern to them. Hi, Erin. And yeah, I've had it in my queue forever. And I decided when I was trying to get some of my mojo back in the last couple of weeks that I needed to do a hat. So I went ahead and cast this on. I knit it up in a couple days. It was really quick. And yeah, and it's done. I'm not going to block it because I think this is one that if you blocked it, it would relax it too much and you'd actually lose the checkerboard effect that you get from the striping yarn. I think I saw that in one of the project pictures. It looked like somebody had blocked it, and it basically just looked like a striped hat at that point. You lost the really cool effect. So I'm not going to block it. I may, however, put on a pom-pom. I don't love that it makes this bullseye in the middle, and the bullseye is orange, which is probably my least favorite of the colors in the hat. So it could definitely use a pom-pom. I had one in mind, and I thought I pulled it out, but I don't know where it is now. I have one that's a white pom-pom with green tips. That's kind of cool, but the green isn't quite the same green as the green that's in the hat. It's a little bit more lime green than this one is. So I haven't decided if that's what I'm going to land on or not, but we'll see. I'll probably end up putting some sort of a pom-pom on it at some point. I haven't made a lot of yarn pom-poms. Fur pom-poms have been my go-to recently, I guess. You know, most of my hats have fur pom-poms. So I could try a yarn pom-pom, though. I used half of my skein of mustache because it comes in, it's a must match, I think, or perfect pairing or something like that, where she has 2 50-gram skeins together so that the stripes line up so you could make a matching pair of socks. I only used one, so I have more yarn. I could make a yarn pom-pom if I wanted to put on the top of this. So that actually might be kind of fun. So I might consider that. That would be kind of cool. So we'll see. This may, I mean, technically I'm saying it's finished, but I'm also saying I may put a pom-pom on it. So it kind of also falls in the 99% done category. But we'll see. If I do end up making a pom-pom, I might try that. So that is finished object number 3. That's actually finished. So now on to my mostly finished objects. Let's start with the Sincerely Louise. As I mentioned, I got a few more. The one that I got and then actually started making is the unicorn head. So you can see that from the, this is the pattern book that comes with it. So that's what my unicorn head will look like eventually. I have knit it. I just have not seamed and stuffed it. So like this is the horn. It still needs to be sewn together and stuffed. This is the pieces that are the head that is completely impaled. So I have all of the pieces done. I just have to seam it, put on the backing, stuff it, all of that. So it will happen eventually. It's my least favorite part. I think most people probably feel that way. Seaming is not their favorite. Not everyone. I know some people really like seaming. Mattress stitch is magical. So I do enjoy, I put it off, but it is still fun to, see the end result of a seamed project. So anyway, that will eventually be put together. All of the knitting is done. And then I'll have a unicorn head. What I haven't decided is, and I should show you, this is what her bags or her projects come in. They come in this bag. So everything's in here. The yarn's in here. There's the backing right there. All the stuffing is down here. So it's a really cute packaging too for the projects. What I haven't decided yet is if all of the animal heads that I do are going to end up on my craft wall. Or if I might put them like in the basement where the kids have their toy room as like kind of decoration for the toy room. I'm kind of leaning toward I'll keep them on my craft wall because it occurred to me that above this wall of cubes behind me, I do have a good maybe this much, nope, way more, like this much wall space above that's not in use. So I could line up heads along there and that would be fine. I am running out of room on my cross stitch wall, the wall where I have my shawls hanging and my cross stitch hanging and the deer head right now. I don't think I'd be able to fit them all on there. Plus, as I finish each cross stitch, there's going to be a new framed cross stitch on that wall. So we'll see. I don't need to worry about it yet anyway because I haven't actually finished it. But once I finish it, I may actually end up mounting animals along the back of the wall here. And of course I'll show you a picture. You wouldn't be able to see it in frame. It's much higher than what the camera shows, but I'll take pictures of that. Okay, my next 99% finished project is one that has been on my needles for a really long time, like 2.5 years. So this is my woven shawl. So this is by Casapinka. The yarn is from Ginger Twist Studios. I got the yarn when I was in Scotland 2.5 years ago. And I'm pretty sure I cast it on either as soon as I got home or I think it was pretty soon after. So yeah, it's been quite a while. The reason it is 99% done is because I have not woven in the ends. There's an end there and the start there, and I have not blocked it. So I do need to block it, and then it will actually be done. I really liked having this project on the needles because it was an easy go-to knitting. A lot of what I am working on now is more complicated, like I can't take it anywhere. I'm also not going anywhere, so it doesn't really matter. But it was nice to have as a go-to. I know I can, knit half a row and be fine. So I do kind of miss having that as a go-to project. I probably need to cast on another more simple project like that. However, I also wasn't very motivated to work on it that often because it was kind of boring. Like there wasn't a lot to capture my interest. So I could really go either way. You know, I should have an easy go-to, or I shouldn't because it'll just sit there and take me forever. But I do really like it. I love the colors. I like the stitch. I don't think I'll be able to show it very well. You can kind of see it. There's some texture in it. It kind of looks like a linen stitch. I don't think it is a linen stitch. It's a really easy stitch repeat. I don't think it's a free pattern. I think it is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to go into details. But it's really nice. If you really just want a simple shawl, but more than just garter, then it's a good one. And you could probably do more with the yarn too, because it is kind of a simple palette or a simple backdrop. For the colors, you could have more fun with colors. But I really like this color. It reminds me of like watercolors. You know, it's the blue and the green, and yeah, I think it's really pretty. However, I'm very mad at myself because, like I mentioned with the questions and answer shawl, it's a do the pattern until you're almost out of yarn. So I did that, and I was almost out of yarn, and then I forgot I need to keep 5 grams if I want to make a square in my blanket, and I think this is only like 2 grams. So I didn't save enough for a square in my blanket. Kind of mad at myself for doing that. I do have like a neutral cream that I use because I have a collection of minis that I got from Row 1 years ago, probably. Like I think when I started the blanket, and those are just under what I need for a square. So I do like a row of cream, and then I use those, and it's enough yarn. So I might do that with this. Maybe I'll stripe in a couple of rows of cream and then just finish the square and the rest. But I might have to do the math to figure out how much to use. So we'll see. It might be too complicated for me to just, and I'll just decide I don't care. But I'm a little bit sad that I just don't have enough yarn for a square. Not enough to rip out the bind off and like rip out some and then rebind off. I could do that if I really cared that much, but I don't. So I will just deal with it however I end up dealing with it when the time comes. So that is my woven shawl. That is done-ish. Still needs to be blocked. Okay, I have also, I thought I had one more. Oh, I do. Duh, it's my biggest project. I have one more. This is almost done, but there's still a couple of things left to do. So I showed you on my last podcast episode the Mastin cardigan that I was working on. I had stitched most of the body, and I hadn't moved on to shaping or sleeves or anything yet. Now I have completed pretty much the whole thing. I have the whole cardigan. Let me put it here. I'll show you. I have the Tanny Casey bag that this has been living in. It's got llamas on it. I love her bags. This is a fantastic bag. It's definitely big enough for my sweater. So this is the Mastin cardigan. Let me show you the front so you can see it. There we go. It's got cables all up the sides. It's got a cable up the sleeve. The cable is all over the back. And then it has this great shawl collar on the button band. Oh my goodness, I can't show you. There's a shawl collar. I do wish that this shawl collar was bigger. Where this sweater hits me is kind of low on my shoulders, so the shawl collar really just kind of comes up to my neck. It doesn't really do the flip that I want out of a shawl collar. Part of that might be down to blocking, like I might need to block it a little bit differently or something just to make it fit myself up here better. But part of it is also I think I just want a bigger shawl collar. I have not decided if I want that enough to rip it out and re-knit it. I'm leaning toward probably not. If I can figure out how to just rip out that part of it and kind of add to it without making too much of a fuss, then I might. But the way that you knit a shawl collar is you do most of your short rows and then you finish the button band, which is like this much straight knitting. And I don't want to have to rip that out and do it again because that goes all the way around. And all I really want to have to redo is like this top part of the shawl, or the shawl collar. So I don't know. You know me. I'm adventurous. I'll try it, probably. And you know, it's a color. It if I just add some length, it'll probably work just fine. So I may figure out how I can just rip out that part of it, add some more short rows, and get more of a voluminous shawl collar. But again, I think that's just down to the fit on myself. I don't think it's anything with the pattern. I may have wanted to go up a size in the pattern, and I didn't, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, enough about the shawl collar. I don't think I mentioned this is a pattern by Rachel Brockman, who I have met and I would consider a friend. So I really like her patterns. This is one that is actually free because I think it was published in a magazine initially. So definitely worth checking out. Another reason not another reason, because I didn't even tell you yet why it's not fully done. One, obviously, ends have not been woven in. I think I've woven in a couple. Or like held something double. I think I spit spliced a lot too, because I think this was spit spliceable yarn. So I don't have a ton of ends to weave in, but I haven't woven in the ends that I do have. The second thing is the pockets. So one fun little element about this is that you do an afterthought pocket. You put in some waste yarn, which you can see over here. You put in some waste yarn, and then you pick that up later and you knit a pocket, and then you knit a little cuff kind of thing at the front of the pocket. So I did today pick up this pocket, and I've knit that one. And you do it in a contrast color, or a bright color, or some sort of a color, which I think is a lot of fun. So I picked a green. This is, I think I figured out that it's leftover yarn from Neighborhood Fiber Company from when I knit my 3-color cashmere cowl. So I picked that up, and it'll kind of peek through here in the eyelets, which is kind of fun. I like that. But that pocket is done. It actually is complete. The pocket itself, I still have to pick up and knit like the cuff part. Like I think it's ribbing or something for the front of the pocket. And then obviously the second pocket I haven't done anything with at all. So I'll pick that up as well. This has been done. I knit the whole body of the sweater and finished it, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks after my last podcast episode, and then it sat for a long time, and then I finally got around to picking up the button band. I tried to pick it up like 3 different times, which is why it went into timeout for a little bit, but I did finally pick up the right number of stitches, and I knit the button band and the collar, and then it sat again for a couple of weeks, as I waited to work on the pockets. And like I said, I picked that up today. So hopefully I'll be able to finish the other pocket today. I think this only took me like maybe 2 hours to pick up and knit. So the pockets really don't take long. So I just need to get it done. And when it's done, I'll have a finished sweater. And this sweater has already been blocked because I blocked it in order to, before you do the blocking, before you do the seaming. So it's mostly blocked already. The button band isn't blocked, and I think I probably do need to do some blocking there. But otherwise, you know, it's 99% done. So, so that is my Maston cardigan. Oh, the yarn too, the gray is Quince & Co. Chickadee, I think. I have a lot left. I think I have like 4 or 5 skeins left. Yeah, Quince & Co. Chickadee, which is 100% organic wool, and the colorway is Iceland. So I do have a bunch left. I have a couple of ideas for what I'm going to use it for, because I want to do a shawl that I need a neutral color for. So I think that's where that'll end up. But anyway, Maston cardigan. That's that one. Okay, I have a couple of whips, just 2 to show you. This one has not had a lot of love in the last couple of weeks. I started on it. But this is the Mini Mania. I don't remember who it's by, so I'll have to insert that later. I want to say it's Lisa Hannes of... No, I'm not going to commit to that. So I have a bunch of minis left from my advent calendar last year. I think I've talked about this before, that I usually use about 5 grams in my blanket. Usually the smallest advent calendar, they send you 10 grams, so I had 5 grams left of each of the colors. I tried to figure out what to put it in. There was one that I started and I ended up ripping out, and then I landed on this this Mini Mania pattern and decided to just go with that one. So I have put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the 20. I think I have 25 colors. So I'm making some progress. Like I said, I did put it down for a bit, so it hasn't seen much love in the last couple of weeks, but at some point I'll pick it up and I'll finish working on this one. Speaking of Advents, I have ordered another Advent calendar for this year. I can't remember who the dyer is that I picked it from, but I did get shipping notification in the last couple of days, so that's exciting that that's on its way. I'm going to have to figure out another project to use for those minis. So if you have any ideas, anything that you're using Advent minis for, if you do that, if you're into that, then give me some recommendations in the comments. That would be really helpful to figure out what I actually want to knit with what I have left of my minis after I get them in my blanket. So there's that one. This is in a Fat Squirrel bag. I think I picked this up at Maryland, maybe. I don't remember. One of them. At Needles Up. Okay, this one is one that I'm very excited about. The bag is my By the Bay Yarn Company bag. I picked this up when I was in Texas at the Flying Fibers retreat, which I talked about at the time and was a lot of fun, and I'm very sad that they had to cancel this year even though I wasn't going to go, but hopefully next year. So this project that's in this bag is my Unicornucopia. And I've made a lot of progress on this in the last couple, I want to say couple of weeks, maybe last week or so. So this is how big it is. Last time I showed it, I think it was like here. So definitely made some progress. It is brioche. So it's, it's got a light side and a dark side. There's increases and decreases in the brioche. I had a really hard time starting out with this. I think because the rows were so short and I just don't do a lot of brioche that I was like, it takes so much of my concentration to work on. But now that the rows are longer and now that I can read my knitting better and I'm more comfortable with the brioche, it's way easier. So I really like it now. Now I can actually sit and watch TV while I'm knitting on it. I was working on it last night. And yeah, so I'm really enjoying it. The yarn is some that I picked up while I was in Texas. I picked it up from West 7th Wool. And that's actually where I got the pattern idea too, from their podcast forever and ever ago. They have a shop sample in their shop as well. The yarn I got, I want to say the light is from Yarn Circus, and I don't think they're dyeing anymore. I think I looked online and saw that they weren't. But they were based in Texas. And then the mohair, the pattern actually calls for DK mohair, which as far as I can tell doesn't exist anywhere. Except obviously it did because they had it. Or they, the pattern calls for it and a sample was knit from it. But what I ended up doing was I bought Shibui mohair and I'm holding a double. Let me tell you about the yarn management on this project because it's going way better than I would have expected. Because it's brioche, so you've got 2 colors that you're dealing with, and my mohair, I'm holding it double. So that's just a lot to deal with, usually. However, for my white color, I've got that in a ball sack that I got from Seal City Stitcher forever and ever ago. So this is just wound up and enclosed between my snaps. I'm doing a center pull ball and just pull out from the snaps. So that's been easy to deal with. And then my mohair, I can't remember if I showed this the last time I was talking about this project, but this has been fantastic. So I have a Yarnet. I've had it for a long time. I don't use it that often. However, this is the perfect use for it. There's going to be a lot of reflection, but I I wound up both of the mohairs individually. I think I've held mohair double with something in the past, and I've like wound them together, which I found helpful because you kind of pull them together. It works pretty well. I decided I didn't want to try and wind two skeins of mohair together because that just sounded like a tangly nightmare. Um, so I did wind them separately. They are both sitting side by side inside my yarnet, and each strand has its own little slot that it's being pulled from. So as far as the yarnet is concerned, they are completely separate, but I'm able to hold them together really easily for the actual knitting. So this has been really convenient. It's worked really well. I haven't had any issues with tangling. I say that now, of course I might run into one, but as of now, I haven't had any issues with it tangling, and it's just been really convenient. I'm kind of shaking it around a little so they may end up doing something weird. There we go. Now they're kind of back in the direction I want. So yeah, this yarnet has been fantastic for this particular project. Like I said, I've had it for a long time, but I don't use it very often, mostly because I don't, a ball sack's just as easy to throw a skein of yarn into, just to have it in something inside a project bag. But the yarnet for this particular purpose has been very handy to have as an option. Okay, so that is my unicornucopia. Okay, I'm debating how to talk about this. So when I podcasted last, I was waiting for my 3D printed circular sock knitting machine. It did arrive soon after that. I have used it. I have not perfected it. And I don't spend a ton of time using it either because, socks just are not my go-to project. So even knitting the tube or cranking the tube and having to do heels and toes and cuffs, I still don't end up wanting to do heels, toes, and cuffs. So, I don't spend a ton of time on it, but I did get my circular sock knitting machine. Let me show you the machine itself, and then I'll show you kind of what I've worked on from it. Okay, I have it in this bag only because I took it with me to New Jersey, and I actually haven't used it since then. But it did make for a very convenient traveling bag here that it just kind of popped in. Let me make some adjustments. Okay, this is my circular sock knitting machine. This arm actually goes out like this. This arm holds the yarn. You can feed it through. There's a tensioning disc here that does the tensioning. Then it goes through this little hole, and then it gets fed into the machine. And the machine, when you crank it, you've got needles that are going up and down, and there's little latches to keep the yarn hooked on the needles, and then it goes around and it just knits. It's really great. I really like it. I got this from Ashcroft Makers. I got it right before her popularity exploded. She doesn't do orders anymore. I think she does shop updates now, so she'll only list them when she has some available, because when her popularity did explode, she ended up with a back catalog and it took her a long time to fill the orders. So she changed how she does business. I don't think she's shipping to the United States and Canada currently either. She's located in Scotland. I think because of COVID and shipping concerns and all of that, she's just not shipping across seas or overseas right now. So I don't think you can get it currently. However, if you do have a 3D printer yourself, and she might hate that I'm saying this, if you do have a 3D printer yourself, there is a pattern for a 3D printed sock knitting machine on Thingiverse, which is like the Ravelry for 3D printers. So you could make your own. It's not the exact same one, but it's the same concept. You can also buy these hooks. Apparently they make them for like not commercial, but maybe commercial, for sock knitting machines. Like Brother has a flat sock knitting machine, I think. I think these hooks are designed for that, and just they have a bit of the end cut off. So I think you can get all the pieces that you would need if you wanted to make one yourself. I don't think that I would. My brother has a sock knitting machine, or a sock knitting. My brother has a 3D printer, so if I'd really wanted to, I could probably pay him to print things for me, but it was a lot easier to be able to order it, so I did. So I had ordered this one. I have enjoyed playing with it. The mechanics of it are fascinating, like actually watching the yarn and seeing how it all works is really cool. I have had to do a little bit of troubleshooting, figuring out like tension and things like that, figuring out, okay, why are stitches being dropped if stitches are being dropped. Usually it's not the machine, it's me, and I'm like missing something or cranking too fast, or my yarn's not tensioning right. So there definitely has been a learning curve figuring out how to use it, which is one of the reasons I haven't used it a ton, because it is a bit of work. Like there is some figuring out involved in it. However, I do really like it. It can clamp on to a table or something. I have a like sawhorse set up for my yarn swift. I think I've talked about before. I actually just clamp this onto that same sawhorse, and it's out of the way of my ball winder and yarn swift. I don't use them at the same time, but I can use one without taking off the other. So I can use my sock knitting machine without touching the ball winder and swift, and I can wind yarn without having to take off the sock knitting machine. So it's really great. I really like that. I did buy actual clamps. It came with 3D printed clamps, and they just do not feel sturdy enough. So I bought some of the squeezy kind of clamps to clamp it on. But I have really enjoyed having this. That said, like I said, I've had some learning curve. I've not ruined, but I've cranked some things that have not turned into socks. I don't think I've actually made a finished pair of socks. But I have done some cranking. So let me show you what I've come up with so far. Okay, one thing that I talked about was the tension is very important with your sock knitting machine. One of my purchases recently was it's a yarn butler. So if you have a cake and you put it on the yarn butler and you want to pull the yarn from the outside, it spins. This is one way that I've found to try and not tension my yarn too tightly while using the sock knitting machine. So I'll put this on a table right in front of it, and as I'm cranking, it'll pull the yarn from this. So that has been convenient. That has worked out pretty well. This ball is a mess. It's my it's there we go. It's just some yarn that I've been using with the circular sock machine. So the yarn butler, that is one thing that I purchased to use with the machine. And then there's, let's see. Okay, let me show you some of the socks that I've done. So first I cranked tubes. This was my first real yarn to do it with. I think this is the Crafty Mama Designs yarn that I got a long time ago as a podcast prize, which was fun. I knew it was self-striping yarn that I wanted to try out on the sock machine. It turned out great. So I cranked some tubes. I ended up with I think I did 3 tubes because I did this sock and it turned out pretty good. And then I did this sock and I cut the heel into the wrong spot. So this foot is way shorter than this foot. So that was unintentional. So I did end up cranking a third foot or a third tube so that I could actually cut it into the right spot and make a pair of socks. So like I said, learning curve. I mean, this was just dumb on my part because this was just cutting in an afterthought heel, which has nothing to do with the sock machine. Because you could do that with, normal knitting of socks. You could knit a tube and then cut in an afterthought heel. Yeah, it was dumb. But that is one that I've done. I did finish heels and toes on it. I found that I don't really like doing a ribbed cuff. I've never liked doing toe up because I don't like bind offs that you have to do around the cuff. I have really thick legs and ankles, so I don't like having a bind off up there. So what I've actually ended up doing is just binding off the last of the stitches and doing kind of a rolled cuff. So that's been my go-to cuff for this so far. Maybe someday I'll figure out a better cuff, but that's what I've been doing so far. So that was my first attempt at tubes and socks and all of that. Then I purchased the maker. She has a pattern for a toe up sock where you make the toe and the heel on the machine itself. And that's what I wanted to figure out how to do. So I did figure that out. I made a sock like that. This toe and this heel were made on the machine itself. You kind of like lift up half the needles and work back and forth, and then you put the needles back down and you rejoin. To do a heel, to do a toe, you kind of work back and forth, you make that heel, and then you kind of pick it up and put it on all of it. So you basically start with a disc, like you made the toe, and then you make it a circle, and then you go around from there. It's very fiddly and very tricky to do. It's also not great. I mean, it's a little bit gappy here where you do the decreases and increases. So it's not my favorite outcome, but I do love not having to do an afterthought heel or toe. So it has its ups and downs or its pros and cons. But this was my first attempt, and I did accomplish it. I got what I wanted out of it. I still need to play with measurements and figure out exactly where I need to start, because I think this one ended up being a lot shorter or a lot longer than I wanted it to be. I want to say a lot shorter because that looks pretty small. So it's not perfect, but it was a learning experience. And out of that learning experience, I also made, I think she called it a cast-on bonnet for the sock knitting machine. So one of the irritating things with using the machine is you have to cast on, you cast on with waste yarn and you cast it onto this thing. So basically you loop between needles and this thing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then this gets a weight hung on to it. There we go, like this. This tensions as you're knitting so that the yarn gets pulled down and everything actually gets knitted. Otherwise it would all float up there and nothing would work. So this is how I learned. It's what it comes with. But then she released a pattern for what she called a cast-on bonnet. And what you can do with that, and unfortunately it's still attached to a tube, so I can't show you super well, but is instead of doing the cast-on onto this thing, instead you can pick up the edge stitches on this little bonnet that I made and hook it onto the loops, and that's your start. And you just hang a weight in this. You just put the weight in here, and this pulls all of it. And you can see I've got a tube attached, so it just pulled all of that. This is great. It does look interesting. Cocktail hour at Coop Ladies, we're laughing at the end result there because it's, you know, a weighted sack. So, but it's really nice because then you don't have to do the fiddly winding all of the yarn to figure out how to do the cast on. So I do really like this. She also had originally, the pattern is just to do kind of a tube with eyelets, and you kind of, like you cinch the bottom with a ribbon or something. I decided to go ahead and make a toe. So I made the toe using the machine and then picked it up just like I would with a sock, and then made the rest of it. The cool part about this too is that this actually has a knit on folded hem with a picot edge, which you can do using the sock machine. It's very cool. You do have to pay for this pattern. I think she sells it on the same site that she sells the sock knitting machine. But if you use a sock machine or are planning to print your own, or want to wait until she actually ships internationally and buy that one, then it's definitely worth looking at. And the fact that you can do a picot edge, that's very cool. It's also how I could finish my socks now that I've done it once and have figured out how to do it. This was like the last thing that I knit other than the tube that's attached. So I've still got to spend some time and figure out how I want to use the machine to really make a finished sock. And it may be a picot cuff. That was a lot of talking. So sorry if all of that was boring. Maybe I can put in a timestamp so you can skip over all of the sock knitting section. But it is very cool to be able to knit a tube. I think it took me like maybe 20 minutes to crank this out. If that, it's really very cool to knit a tube like that so quickly. So I do like that. Okay, that was a lot. All right, I'm gonna wrap up with some acquisitions. When I went to Arrow Acres Farm for the Not Rhinebeck weekend, they did door prizes, and I did win one of those. So I got some of their flock yarn, or farm yarn, I think they call it. So this is Kigo, Ziggy, I'm gonna say this wrong, Sapel, Pomp, Ellie, Reno, and Arrow. And it's 93% alpaca, 7% bamboo, merino, and silk. And it's really soft and squishy, and I'm excited to do something with this. So I got that as a prize. And then Dee, who is Liz and Leanne's mom, also known as the Peanut Gallery on their on their podcast, made me this fabric flower. So I think she had made them for some people at Rhinebeck last year, and so she was able to get me mine when I went up to visit her, which was very sweet of her to remember because I'd forgotten. So so that was a fun surprise to get this little fabric flower. I attached it to my hat. So I have those. I also have, let's see, I'll show you, this is Sincerely Louise things that I purchased. So this one, in addition to the deer and the unicorn, this one is the dragon. So it comes in the bag like that. Let me show you this is the yarn. It's a fun dark red. I can't seem to find the pattern itself. Oh, there it is. Hang on. Hooah. This is what's really cool. When I got the deer, like I said, I got it a couple of years ago, and the pattern was just, a couple of printed pages. Now they all come with this really cool pattern booklet. Like it's very nice, and it's got pictures and instructions, and right here I'll show you. Like, see, it's very cool. So this is the dragon. That's the dragon head. She also sells a large size and a small size for both, so you can get the kit and make either one of those. I'm going to put this back in here, otherwise I'm going to lose it. So I also got an elephant head. This one has a little bit different packaging. I don't know if she had those first and she switched to this, and I just picked up one where she had an old one, but this bag is also very nice. I can't find the pattern book on this one, but this is an elephant, so it's gray. It'll have big ears and a trunk, like an elephant. So there's that one. And then the last one that I got is a small one, and this is a rabbit. And this one is with some pink yarn. And you can see it's a little rabbit head. And this is the smaller one, so it's like this big. Like the backing for it. Oh, where's the backing for it? Yeah, the backing for it is actually in here, and you can see that's much smaller. So that's, the head will come out of there. Okay. So that's my Sincerely Louise kits. Hopefully I'll be working on those at some point, not just leave them to be seamed later. And then I've made a couple of acquisitions just as I was watching some podcasts the last couple of weeks, getting some of my mojo back, showing up on Instagram again. There were a couple of makers that I wanted to support. I fully realize that I have been incredibly lucky during this pandemic that I haven't personally been very affected. I already work from home. I have for a really long time, so my job wasn't affected at all. My husband, he works in agriculture, so they fell under essential, so he had to keep going in, but he has kept his job this whole time, and haven't really been impacted there. Like I said, I have been incredibly lucky through this pandemic, and I know that others have not, and especially those yarn shops and indie dyers and makers. I'm trying to, remember to support them, even though I'm not buying a lot of yarn because I'm not doing a ton of crafting. As I was getting that mojo back, there were a couple that I wanted to make sure that I supported. So let me show you some of my recent acquisitions. This is a bag that I picked up from Daisy Lane Designs, who is Allison, who's a friend of mine who moved to Colorado in the last couple of years. So it's a really big bag. I really like it. It's kind of flat. I'm actually thinking I might end up using this for cross stitch. It's really soft. It's like a fuzzy felty bag. So I really like that. And she included with it this cute little pouch. So I want to say it's her cash envelope design, but I think I'll probably end up using it as an Oceans pouch. But it's really cute. It's got little tea bags on it. Okay, so that was my first purchase. I also bought some yarn. One of the podcasts that I was watching was the Wool Slayers, and they always end up talking about Suburban Stitcher because they're friends with her. And so I picked up some Suburban Stitcher yarn. I was just on her site and was looking for, okay, what does she have in stock? Let me see what I might want to buy. And I picked up, I think this is two skeins each of two bulky yarns. And I picked up 2 skeins of mohair because mohair, having worked with it for a while now on this unicornucopia, I want to do more with it. It's really nice. I like mohair. So let me do some crinkling off screen and pull these out, and I'll show you in closer detail. Okay, so first one, yeah, this is bulky. It is the color Sea Smoke. So it's kind of like a light, I'd say cream with some gray and blue in it. It's very pretty. There's a fun speckle there. And this is, I think it's 100%. Yeah, 100% superwash merino. I've also got a bulky in peach tea. So there's that one. It's got some great oranges and pinks and some speckles. And then the mohair that I got is in freshly cut. And you can see it's a bit of a tonal spring green, which is one of my favorite green colors. And this is 74% baby Surrey alpaca and 26% silk. So it's very, very soft. Okay, so that's some yarn that I picked up. I think that's really the only yarn that I purchased recently. I have some that's newer to my stash since the last time I podcasted, but I don't remember enough details about it. I think I got some from FiberShare, and I think that I picked up some random skeins other places, and I just don't remember enough to talk about it. So, sorry, I'm not going to. Another thing that I picked up because I was using the sock machine and I was having to do afterthought heels and toes and cuffs and whatnot. I wanted to pick up some good DPNs because I have a full set of bamboo that I use, and I have a couple steel in the smaller sizes, but not really a wide range of the smaller sizes. So I did go ahead and pick up this DPN set that has the sizes from 0 to 3, and it's got half sizes. So I've got 0, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. This is a Chowgu, as you can tell from the zipper pouch. This is what Chowgu looks like. I want to say I picked this up from Flying Fibers, I believe. It's been a few months, so I don't really remember, but that is something that I picked up for use with the sock tubes. And then lastly, another inspiration from the Wool Slayers. I went to West 7th Wool's website. They are, as I mentioned, where I got the yarn for my unicornucopia when I was in Texas. So I checked out their website, see what they had. I wanted to support a Texas dyer, so I picked up some Savvy skeins. I picked up 3 skeins of Dr. Strange in Optimum DK, which is 100% superwash merino in DK size. I think this is a great colorway. We watched all of the Avengers movies this summer with the kids, mostly with Eric. I think Toto watched her Kindle the whole time, but I really like the Doctor Strange colorway. I think they did a good job with that color. So, Savvy skeins, picked up 3 skeins of yarn there. And then the bag that I've got it in is another By the Bay Yarn Company bag. This one's their backpack. So it's it's a larger canvas bag, and then it's got straps on the back, so you can wear it as a backpack, or you could, use the handle as just a regular bag. So I thought this was a really cool bag, so I did go ahead and pick that up from the West 7th Wool website. All right. I think that's everything. I may have recorded like an hour and a half. Some of that might get cut, but I don't know how much. Okay, last thing that I'm going to talk about. I always host, always as in the last at least 2-3 years, I think. I usually host a hat-along in October. Obviously, it is not October anymore. It is now November. And hopefully it is early November if I get this edited and posted quickly. So I've decided I'm going to go ahead and do the hat-along again. We'll do it through November, possibly through December too. Let me know your thoughts if you have a preference on whether you're like, no, just make it through November so I don't have to worry about it during the holidays. Or yeah, let's take it all the way through the end of December, maybe middle of December. I don't want to go past December because I'm pretty sure that the new To You Make Along is going to start up again in January, which I always have fun participating in. But let's say for now, probably through the end of December, we'll do a hat along. Very loose rules, just make some hats, go ahead and post them. I'm not going to do it in Ravelry this time. I'm going to just limit it to Instagram. So post with the hashtag just1NHAL20. And I'll use that hashtag to identify who has posted, and pick winners from that. I think I'll probably do, depending on participation, I'll probably do at least one winner. I have some yarn that my friend Robin had sent me sometime last year, probably, that I can give away. So I'll probably end up giving away some yarn. Honestly, I've got a lot in my stash that I could pull and give away too. So if we end up with a lot of participants, we may have a couple of winners. So we'll see. I'm not banking on a lot of participants because I know that I've abandoned you guys as a podcast. Like I said, this is episode 3 for the year. So I get it if I've kind of lost a lot of you. But if you would like to, please hop on the bandwagon, join the hat along. We'll say it starts now. Anything that you're working on now. Don't post a finished object right now. Like if it's done right now, let's say that one doesn't count. You have to at least be working on it or start it during the month of November into December. But go ahead and start posting those, and we'll have a hat along again this year. I will tell you, I am going to knit on, I've decided this today, it's called the ELF hat. It's a nod to Harry Potter and Dobby's hat. And it's a really cool looking pattern. I saw it on the Crafty Toads. I was watching their podcast this morning. Apparently they've gone to daily podcasting. So my backlog for them is huge, but I did watch an episode from about a year ago, which is where I left off last, where Mary Beth was wearing that hat. So it's a very cool hat. That's definitely what I'm going to cast on. Let me know what you're going to cast on. Start posting with the hashtag, and we'll get some hat alonging going on. So that's all I have for you. Hopefully I will try and touch base again. With the hat along going on, I'd like to check in again, and hopefully my mojo will keep going because I've enjoyed picking up my crafts and doing things again. I've spent a lot of my time just not. Phone games have been my stress release since everything started, so I've wasted a lot of time playing Heyday and playing a Picross game. So hopefully I'll spend more of my time working on the things that I know I'll be happy that I have in the end, finishing my Unicornucopia and working on my Stitch Along and a lot of other projects that I'd like to cast on. So hopefully I'll have more to share with you. I'm going to try and be more active on Instagram too. Like you may have noticed I fell off there, so I've been posting more lately. So if you're not already, go ahead and follow me there. I promise I'll post more. But yeah, like I said, that's it. So I will see you guys next time, and I hope that you have fun crafting in the meantime. Bye! So I am drinking out of my Woolly Woman mug that I love. The coffee that I'm drinking, I don't drink a ton of coffee, but my husband made this the other day and it was really good. It's a maple and walnut coffee that we got from our local grocery store. It's amazing. I really like it. Hopefully I'll cut this out for you guys so you don't have to sit through me trying to figure out where the pattern is. So this is my disembodied head. Sorry if he's creeping you out. I'm gonna have to stretch. Hopefully I don't fall.